Welcome to the Amplifying Leadership podcast. I am your host, Tara Lehman, a partner, coach, and consultant at Twinline Coaching and Business Services, of which Amplifying Leadership is a division. The podcast is a place dedicated to amplifying your leadership through our guest stories, tips, information, and more. To learn more about our leadership division, please visit us at amplifyingleadership.ca. Today, I am welcoming Andy Weins, a fourth-generation entrepreneur who supports veterans, entrepreneurs, community engagement, individual empowerment, and the environment. Welcome to Amplifying Leadership, Andy.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, so let's get started. And for those who listen, they always like to know, what is your leadership story? Let's learn a little bit about you before we get into your great topic today.
Yeah, my leadership journey, I guess, especially in the waste and recycling world, started when I was 5 or 6 years old. My father would drive around the nice neighborhoods the day before trash day, and find treasures. So whether it was bikes or skateboards, toys, and then eventually morphed into faucets and sinks, door handles and doorknobs and things of that nature that could be recycled. And so I really fell in love with recycling at an early age. As a fourth generation entrepreneur, I come from a long line of men that are unemployable. And I have between my 3 brothers, or my 2 brothers, so between the 3 of us, we have no jobs. I say that, and I say exactly like I always get that laugh.
Yeah.
Like there are people in this world that were put on this world to be doctors and lawyers and accountants. And there's people in this world that will fight tooth and nail for freedom and independence, and I'm the latter. In my entrepreneurial journey, it's never a straight path. I've spent 20 years in the Army, so I'm capable of taking to coaching and training. I'm capable of a very rigid system like the United States military, obviously, and I'm also capable of that freedom of thought that I so much enjoy. And so I take, for me, the entrepreneurial journey, the leadership journey, is taking the best of all 3 worlds. Take the best of small business, the best of corporate America, which I was in for a while, and the best of the military, and see where they have their strengths, and take all 3 of those in. And what I've learned for me in particular is I love leading a company, and I love hiring people to lead people. Right. So there's there's people that can build ships, and there's people that can captain ships. I like building ships. I'm great at it. My business partner, who's the integrator in our business, he said to me the other day, he goes, Andy, we've been working together 6 months now. He goes, I finally realized how you operate. It's the 10-80-10 principle. You do 10% of the work, I do 80, and you do the last 10%. I go, yeah, that sounds about right. Because in my head, I'm like, I give you 75 or 80% right off the bat. Well, no, I give them 75, 80% of the vision, not the work. Like the work starts when I stop talking. And then at the end, like we were doing a project, we're doing promo packs or swag bags for our guys, right? And so it's backpack and water bottle and coffee, mixer and hat and whatever. And it comes down to, I was like, I gave them the budget, I gave them the list of items. I solicited our guys for feedback, what items they want. So I'm like, here's your budget, here's a list of items that are approved, go do the thing. And he comes back and he's like, okay, I'm decided between these 2 backpacks, which do you want? And I just emailed back, the one that you decide, that's the one I want. So that's my leadership style. Like focus on what matters and then give people the runway. So I'm very much I control the what. This is what we're going to do. And I empower others. I implore them. I demand that they figure out the how.
I love that. And it's something when I do my training, I talk about the difference of manager and leader is about the people. It's about influencing and helping them and setting a vision, but letting them do it, right? Yeah. Absolutely love that definition that you gave us today. Absolutely love it. Yeah. So let's talk about the topic we want to talk about today, which is the language of leadership. So why language of leadership? Why does it resonate with you? What is it?
So I'm a math guy by trade. Math is a natural strength of mine versus English, right? We think about the 4 major subjects in growing up in school, and math was 1, history is 2, and then science is 3, and English was 4. To a point, I failed English 4 times in high school. I failed English one semester every year. I was very consistent, right? I'm very consistent in my approach. and then the first book I wrote was on words, right? So there's that juxtaposition. Here's a kid that failed English. I was in slow kids reading in English in grade school. I never learned how to do cursive because when all the other kids were learning cursive, I was learning how to read still in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, And so let's go back to this math thing. Algebra. I love algebra, right? We start with this big equation, right? And there's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, there's exponents, and then there's an equal sign, and then there's a bunch of other stuff and a bunch of numbers. And what happens when we do algebra, right? They always say, show your work, right? And it goes from a long line, and now it's this upside down triangle. And at the end, you have an answer. And what happens with that answer is it's either right or it's wrong, and it is qualifiable. There's only one right answer, and every other answer is wrong. And what happens is in algebra, someone will say, oh, I did the whole thing wrong. I have a 10-year-old daughter, so she's learning fractions right now. And she'll say, oh, I did the whole thing wrong. It's like, no, there's one thing within here that's wrong, right? You did a subtraction before an addition. You did a addition before a multiplication. You did an exponent wrong, right? You made one error along the way, which resulted in the wrong answer. We fixed that one error, and now all of a sudden you have the right solution. So now let's think of that exact same math equation in a paragraph. When, not if, when we change one word in one sentence, it changes the paragraph. The paragraph changes the narrative changes the destiny. And I am
Very true.
I am that particular. We use on average 7,000 spoken words a day. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. And when we change one word, the narrative changed from that point forward. When you change words like have to into get to, it happened to me versus it happened for me. When we change if to when, if is ambiguous, if has unlimited potential, unlimited results, unlimited ideas. When is based off of a time. When is based off of data. There'll be people from times I learned this in the military. We had this guy called Jimmy Neutron. That's what his nickname was. His name escapes me right now. We called him Jimmy Neutron because he'd always like, oh, what if a nuclear bomb goes off? What if this happens? What if this happens? Right? Because in the military, it's very much a one-upsmanship, right? And so this goes back to 2006. I remember him. We were out in the field exercise. He's screaming about all these what if situations. It's like, well, what are the most likely scenarios? Right? So, when this happens, right? So I develop when then language. When this happens, then we do that. On average, when people are catastrophizing and I do when then exercise, they're exhausted after 5 whens. Because after 5, you've already determined the 5 most likely scenarios, and the thens, we do that. And so the language of leadership is that simple. When we change one word in our sentence, it changes the narrative. And the other thing I noticed, so I wrote a book called Words Fucking Matter. Retrain your brain to use language that serves you. Since I wrote the book, I've been extremely conscious of my language. And moreover, I'm conscious of the language of leaders and I listen. So when I listen to the leaders that I aspire to be more like, Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, Mark Cuban, I listen to how they speak. They avoid using these words that do not serve. They come from a place of empowerment. They can't come from a place of being future focused. And then I listen to the victims of the world. I listen to the people that are woe is me. And they are consistently talking about the past. They're consistently talking about what they're unable and incapable of doing. And they don't come on and say, hi, I'm a victim and I'm useless. That's not how they start. Right?
Yeah.
And especially this last 6 months here in the United States, we had a contentious political race, right? And a contentious country. And okay, so one of the things, like another word I find interesting is support versus help, right? There's always, I want help. Help often is this, I'm incapable of doing it myself. Listen to a politician. A politician will never use the word help. They'll ask for support. They'll say, hey, I'll do it either way. Again, this is the difference between managers and leaders. A manager will ask for help because they're incapable of doing themselves. A leader will say support. Hey, I'm going there either way. Either you're with me or you're not. The train's going down the tracks. Let's go together, right? That old African proverb, right? You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with others.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So
I like that. And
when you seek support versus asking for help, it changes the narrative as leaders.
And I 100% believe in all of that as well. I hear a lot of these things like, I will never have. And so I tell people, no, you don't say that. You say, I don't have it
Yes.
Yet allows your brain to think about the possibility that it will happen, right?
Hmm.
And the what ifs or the I hopes. I catch
Oh,
people saying I
I hope.
hope
Yep.
all the
Mhm.
time, and it's like, no, you don't hope. What is the possibility? Let's talk about the possibility, not the hope,
Yeah,
right? So I love that you bring that up.
yeah. So I start my book with 13 words that do not serve. So it's the anti-glossary. Again, I wrote my own book. I do what I want. The glossary
Yeah.
is right up front, and it says you will not find these 13 words or phrases in the rest of the book. So hope, pray, believe, right,
Mm-hmm.
will not exist because again, that's I look at it as gasoline on a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Without a fire, the gasoline does you no good. Because people are like, well, what if you do hope and play? Great. What's the plan? You can
Right.
believe in a plan. You can pray for an ideal outcome because you have an outcome that you want. And then what are the
Mm-hmm.
performance steps to get there? And what you said about uh, what I don't have yet, right? So the six most powerful ways to start a sentence. This is something I'm recently working on. Six most powerful ways to start a sentence. One of them is I want.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about is I want is once you say I want, there's no need for because. Often when you say I need, well, I need this. Why? Well, because no. And when you say I want, now you're declaring to the world what you really want. And it's like, okay, does that want trump the discomfort of chasing it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it trump the excuse you keep telling yourself? Does it trump the pain that you're avoiding? And
Mm-hmm.
almost always, the want, when it's greater than the pain, when it's greater than the excuses, you will achieve it. And often, beautiful thing about humans is we get what we want and we realize it was the journey of getting there. It was the overcoming the obstacle. That was the true gift. The thing we get at
Mm-hmm.
the end is merely the result. It is
Right.
oh, I had the courage to ask the girl out. I had the courage to walk into my boss's office and ask for a raise. I had the courage to quit my job and finally go after that career I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The end result is less significant than the mindset shift the individual will have. That's it. In life, we do not get to choose those defining moments in life. It's only in reflection we recognize the defining moments.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when that switch, that switch in your brain turns, when you go left instead of that comfortable right, that's the defining moment.
I love that. And I use it a little bit differently. I say, if you're going straight, that's status quo. You can go left
Yep.
or right, but you do it differently. But like take that
Yeah.
extra step. And I love also that you talk a little bit about, it's about taking action,
100%.
right? When we say I want, we're more open to taking action than if we have that close, I will never have, or I
Hmm.
don't have, those types of things. It opens our mind to creativity and innovation, right? It really does allow us to think differently. And you're right, if it's greater than that pain, we'll get there.
When it's greater than the pain, right?
Yeah,
If is it
sure.
no when, right? That's
Yes,
how particular I am. When it's
yeah,
greater than the pain, we get there. Because if it's 50-50,
you're right. And
when
yeah,
see, and
good
this is
catch.
how critical and now it's like it's super uncomfortable. Hi, I don't know you. Let me correct you, right? And you're like, oh, that's kind of awkward. And it's like, oh, you're right. That does sound better. So what's
But we all
interesting?
do it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
good to catch each other, right?
yes.
Absolutely, we catch each other. Yeah.
One of the beautiful one of the beautiful things about me now, when I read books, I read the word when I see if. So one of the
Interesting.
yep, I that is how and I realize how prevalent that word is. So one of my favorite books I read recently is The Four Agreements. And
Hmm. Yeah.
that the Four Agreements uses the word if quite a bit because it's
Hmm.
displaying this life that you might live someday.
Hmm.
And when I replace when with if, I feel more empowered. I feel ready to take it on because I'm
I
saying to
like it.
myself, when you have this mindset shift, Annie, you get these things. Not if, when. And
I love that.
it's a little bit of pressure, right? It's a little bit of pressure that's consistently keeping me honest with myself about what I want in this world.
Again, helping you create the action to get it, right?
100%. Yep.
100%. Yeah, excellent. So let's keep with that theme of how we speak. And we know that a lot of leaders, they apologize a lot, or even employees like, I'm so sorry. And it's not even their fault. They just apologize for things that aren't even anything having to do with them, right? Why, when saying so, like, why do we do that? And why is that, so unproductive
It's
as
all,
leaders or even employees,
did
right?
you read my book? Did you? I mean, you're just teeing me up. Like this is I cover this topic. It's one of my talking points. Like
I
this is
have
what I
not
do.
yet read your book.
I love it. No, I just want our listeners to know that like this is it. I love it. So Sorry, there's two things happening with sorry. Sorry makes it about you, right? The speaker seeking forgiveness, right? You're asking for something, right? So now you are making it about you, you're asking, and you're living in the past. Those
Oh,
three things
okay.
are all negative. All three of those things take you backwards versus forwards. Okay. So that's what sorry does. So now let's be future focused. Let's
Mhm.
make it about the other person. Let's make it about gratitude. So remove the word sorry and say thank you. Thank you,
Mm.
first and foremost, makes it about the other person, right? Okay, let's look at our situation here today. Um, I did not find the Zoom link, right? So I was a
Mhm.
minute
Yes.
late to our call. Okay, right? I can say, hey, sorry I was on the call. I couldn't find the Zoom link because the thing and the stuff, and we rescheduled because you were sick, and it's fine, whatever. But like, thing,
Mhm.
right? Instead, I can say, thank you, right? Or first off, I can say, hey, I was late. I was late to our call today, right? I own it.
Mhm.
I own it. The facts are the facts. We can both, right now, we're starting from a place of, we have the same jump off point now, right? So it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
hey, I was late today on the call. Thank you for your patience. Moving forward, I'm going to be more conscious of my time and the emails and the notes so that powerful transition statement, I'm not late next time. Can we proceed? And now you can say, no, I want to be angry. Okay, be angry, right? Or you can say,
Mhm.
oh, thank you for acknowledging how I felt. And when we're at when it's a heavier point, we can also say, hey, all these things, how does that make you feel? And most people, they want to feel respected. They want to feel understood in that
Mhm.
moment. So going back to it, sorry is bullshit. Because like you said, I love what you said. Often people apologize for something they had zero control over,
Yes, a
right?
lot.
So
Yeah.
for example, another late, hey, sorry I was late. Traffic was bad. Well, hold
Mhm.
on. You have no control over traffic. So now you're just dismissing. Oh, just is a shit word. I just used just. Now you are dismissing and you're taking no responsibility versus, hey, thank you for, being patient. Hey, I did not leave this morning my house with enough time to be here, with enough time to be on time. That's what I did. I did not leave. Right. That is something I had control over.
Mm.
Right.
And it's ownership. I think all leaders
100
need to have that ownership, right?
the
So
beautiful
that they
thing is,
can,
yeah, when you start with ownership as a leader, no one can question your integrity.
and they'll
Hey,
start to follow. They'll start to
100%.
do the same things, right? Rather than always apologizing, or blaming somebody. That's
Even
the
worse.
worst is, it's all Andy's fault. I hate that. I always say, no, what part of the process broke down? It's not
Yeah,
Andy's fault. Something broke down, whether that be the training, the process itself, something broke down somewhere, but it doesn't mean it's Andy's fault, right?
it's I was talking to my assistant earlier today, and one of our guys, he there was two invoices he did wrong. So he called them, and I was like, hey, these are the two invoices that are wrong. This is what I saw. These are my fix. Are there any others? Right? And he's like, no,
Mhm.
there's no. Okay, good. So, and it was he forgot to change the date. Whatever. And then after the call, so I was on the phone with my assistant, and we called somebody else in the call. So afterwards, and I was like, her name's Emmy. I said, Emmy, I said, that's pretty much how calls go when I'm talking to the guys. I go, does it go similar with you? I want to make sure that, even when she's calling them out, that she's getting the same reception. She's like, oh yeah. She goes, we always are calling each other out. And she goes, that's one thing I love about this company is that we can all call each other out. We can give each other feedback. And I go, and she goes, I wonder why that is. I go, well, it started with me. It started with me saying, hey guys, call me out first. Call
Mhm.
like I'll get more upset with my leadership team and my team for not calling me out. My goal in life
Mhm.
is only to not be wrong.
Mhm.
It has nothing to do with being right. I only want to be not wrong. So when I make a decision and then new information becomes available, like, hey, the decision you made did not work. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Now I have the opportunity to be not wrong again. Right. And I'm going to continue to be
Mhm.
not wrong until I'm right. And now we can have this big ship going down, right? I was using the ship analogy, and we're nimble enough to turn. The winds will change. We're nimble enough to adjust the sails versus nope, this is the way the Andy's way. No, there's no such thing as Andy's way. And our company is called the Camel Crew Way. We have the Camel Crew Way. And every
Love
single
it.
person that's ever come into our company has influenced the Camel Crew Way. Every customer, every employee, every vendor has influenced the Camel Crew Way. As the leader and the visionary, I have the opportunity to look at all the facets of the business, and set the direction. It goes back to when the Apollo 11, maybe Apollo 9, the first one that went around the moon and slingshot and came back. They were on track. They were on the right line, the perfect line, 2% of the time. 2%. The other 98% of the time, they were off their designated track. So it's like, oh, a little adjustment here, a little adjustment there. When you're traveling, thousands of miles, like, well, the moon's that direction. So long as it's in front of us, like, yep, at some point we got to get, like, okay, it's still, like, if it's behind you, well then, or not if, right? When it's behind you, okay, we're going the wrong direction, literally and figuratively. And yet, as long as it's still right, it's there. So when I talk about our guys, right, we have our 5-year plan. It's like, when the decisions we make now line up with our 5-year plan, we're good. And sometimes the decisions do not work out, and that's reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. Yeah. Future's not here. So, I mean, things can always change.
Yep.
I have another question about things. So when we're talking about feedback, and, it's easy to do praise more than it is to do constructive conversations where, things like that. What are your, say, tricks or tips or, around constructive feedback?
Well, I'm already I'm shaking my head because you use another shit word, right? This is how twitchy I get. Easy, right? I tell you, right? Let's break it down. So you called it feedback, right? And you call it constructive criticism, right? Or kind of leaning towards that. Constructive.
I don't use criticism. I hate that word.
So right, fine. But what I'm saying, you are starting to label things in a positive and negative manner, right? Let's call it that. And you are projecting that it's easier to give praise. I can tell you, it's not easier for me to give praise. It's for me. It is so much easier for me to find the negative, tell you all the things you did wrong, versus the one thing you did right. Because my personality type, I'm a maverick according to the predictive index. I don't celebrate wins because for me, I'm expected to win. When I win, that's the minimum ante. Okay. So now we can eliminate easy. We can eliminate constructive. We can eliminate praise, right? So let's talk about feedback. I deliver feedback consistently the same.
Okay.
Tie it back to a known thing. So in our company, we have 3 values: hungry, dependability, camaraderie. Hungry. Oh, you got to be hungry. Les Brown, the greatest video on YouTube for me, the best video I've ever seen. I've seen it no less than 200 times, probably closer to 500. I'm going to look into this one day of how many times I can watch, how many times I've seen this video. 6 minutes and 36 seconds that changed my life. Les Brown, Goldcast video. You got to be hungry. I live by that. Last year, when we did our values, we put up our values on the board, we did a value exercise. Somebody else said hungry. I did not say hungry, which is interesting because hungry is my number one value at life. That's how I got where I'm at today, right? So Les Brown says, you got to be hungry, right? And I love that. So hungry is our number one, or not our number one, it's our first of the 3 values, because hungry is kinetic, is potential energy. Anybody can come in day one hungry with not a knowledge in the world. That's a choice. Hunger is a choice. Second thing, dependability. That is your kinetic energy. What did you actually do, right? Can we depend on you to show up to work on time? Can we depend on you to lift the other end of the couch? Can we depend on you to drive a truck safely? Well, a couple of those things need training. We need to train you, or we get to train you on the couch. We get to train you on driving a truck, okay? Third thing is camaraderie. People want to work with you. You want to work with people. When you're hungry and dependable, pretty much everyone wants to work with you. So now let's go back to our feedback loop. I got a guy that doesn't show up to work on time, right? All right, hey, Tara, here at our company, we expect people to be dependable. It's one of our 3 values. When you show up to work on time, it tells us that you're dependable. When you fail to show up to work on time, it tells us that you're not dependable. Are you dependable? And if someone says yes, okay. So what do you need to do to be dependable? I need to show up to work on time. All right. So is that your commitment moving forward? Yep, it's my commitment moving forward. All right, sounds good. Let's make that happen. And then I walk away, right? And if we have the conversation again, we just go back to that same loop. And then a little more in depth. Hey, what do you need to do, right? Because showing to work on time is a result. That's a result of the previous action. Hey, what do you need to do, right? And we continue to get you to that point of dependable. I didn't say it was positive or negative. And someone says, I don't care about showing up to work on time. Okay, so we value that. So we have a misalignment on values. So it's best that you find employment, right? We give you the opportunity. I love this line. We'll give you the opportunity to be successful with another company.
That's a good line. I like that one too.
right?
Hmm.
So here's the flip side. Actually, another situation when it came to a termination. We had a situation recently with an employee, and the employee had called, or actually, I'll use this one. It's a little bit, it's simpler to explain. We're all about recycling in our business. We are all about keeping things out of the landfill. And so we had an employee that we were really high up on. He was bilingual, bachelor's degree, smart guy, said all the right things. He was working with a guy that we're not very high up on. And the guy we're not very high up on called back to the office and said, "Hey, this employee, this leader, this crew chief told me to take a TV, donatable furniture, and a mattress all to the transfer station, which is the transfer station that goes to the landfill." And he goes, "That's not in line with how we recycle." And we're like, "Yeah, you're right. It's not in line with how we recycle. Thanks for giving us that feedback, right?" And then the data later in the day showed that this employee did that. And then this employee did something, he called into work because he knew he was on the hot seat, and then he self-termed himself, right? Because once we asked him a few questions while we are doing a basic investigation, he figured it out. Okay. I went back to the employee, the driver of the truck. His name is Jay Sean. I went back to Jay Sean. I said, "Hey man," I said, "I know I can rely on you. I know that you know our standards, and I know that when you saw something outside of standards, you let it know." He goes, "I don't know what to do." He goes, "He's the crew chief." He goes, "But I knew this wasn't in line with our company." He's
Hmm.
been with us for like 2 months, and he was not very high on the depth chart. He was like, if he would have showed, if he had not have showed up the next day, I probably would have been like, "All right, whatever, Jay Sean, don't work here anymore." Right? Like just to, and I had a conversation. I said, "You know what, Jay Sean, I know I can depend on you. I can depend
Hmm.
on you because you look past your comfort, you look past the hierarchy, you look past all this to make sure that what you did was in line with our company." And so I pointed right at the board. And I said, "We need more people that are dependable like you." Now, again, I'm not saying it's positive or negative.
Hmm.
That's not for me as the leader to decide. And if I tell you you did a good job, it'll help your instrumental motivation, right? That's the
Hmm.
carrot and stick. When I tell you what you did and how it compares to our company, now you intrinsically tell yourself you did a good job. That will burn a hell of a lot longer. Now you're
Hmm.
proud to work there. Now you know you're aligned. You also, from a safety standpoint, you know you're safe at the company because what you did was consistent with the values, right? This goes back to the old adage, right? It's not what you said or what you did, it's how you feel. So
Hmm.
instead of
Yeah.
me telling this company, so if I said, "Hey, Jay Sean, you did a good job," versus he felt like he was a member of the team, he felt safe in his position, he felt like he did a good job. That
Hmm.
that is a seed that I have the opportunity to plant as a leader. What's interesting is
Hmm.
in my third book I'm writing called Phrases Fucking Matter. There's a theme here. Um, we live with all these adages, and we know them, right? So we know this adage of people will never remember what you said or what you did. They remember how you feel. Great. What do you do about it? Like
Yes.
my life hack is okay. What's the mathematical equation to get someone to live that? How do we live that?
Hmm.
So in that moment, Jay Sean wasn't told he did a good job. He felt like he did a good job.
Yeah.
That's the key with feedback. Get them to have the feels.
And I like that you bring it back to the core values of the company. Something that I encourage people to do is to really help them, and the collaborative conversation,
Yep.
rather than if it is, say, they're concerned about whatever is going on, having a collaborative conversation where that employee is coming up with their own solutions is much better than when it goes, "Hey Andy, I need you to do this." Because now they own it, they believe in it, they really are accountable at that part, right?
It goes back to what we said at the top of the hour. I'll tell you the what. These are the
Hmm.
values. You figure out the how.
Yeah. Yeah.
So see, there's a very consistent theme here. This is the what. The values are the what. You figure out how to do that. Oh, making sure you stand up for the integrity of our company and recycling. Got it. Right?
Yep.
The how, report your employee that's not doing it. The how, finding other vendors that can take stuff. The how, training your fellow employee so that they're as proficient as you are.
Hmm.
I could list the 10,000 hows, or I could tell you the one what.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So we got to wrap up now, but I'm
Yep.
wondering if you can leave our leaders, business owners, whoever is listening, say that one key tip that you want to give them so they can move forward. If this is new language for them, it's not going to be an overnight thing. So what is that one tip that you can say to get started, this is what you can do.
My favorite two-letter word. Again, there's a math and English behind everything, right?
Yeah.
My favorite two-letter word, do.
Yeah.
The difference between those that, right, achieve and those that do not achieve are the ones that do. I got a new tattoo on my arm. My battle cry for life is do the fucking thing. That's it. The beautiful thing is everybody knows what the thing. When I say that, everyone has a different thing. I'm not telling you go read a book, listen to a podcast, take a class online. No, do the thing.
Yes.
Somewhere between our heart and our head and our action, right? We have these filters, right? The domestication of man that slows us down from being the person we were put on this earth to be. This tattoo I recently got, my daughter saw it, and she goes, "Dad, you have to add the letter R to it because it's TTFT." And I go, "Why? Why is that, Penny?" She goes, "Well, you got to do the thing right." And I go, I was like, and I looked at her, 10 years old, right? Public school. I go, "Yeah, you're domesticated." And she looked at me, she goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Life is not about doing it right. Only in time do we realize it was the right decision. And when you wait for it to be right, time is never right. The decision is never right. You will be dead before you have all the answers." So even for her, and this is a 10-year-old, like I talk to her like an adult because I'm raising a human, not a child, right? I said, "Penny, how many times have you failed?" "Right? All the time." "Okay. So was it done the right way?" "No." "Okay. So you had to do it wrong a whole bunch before you could do it right." "Yeah."
Exactly.
And she looked at me, I go, "Okay." Right? And she had this aha moment. Like she plays volleyball, I play volleyball. It's like, the last volleyball game I went to, her second game, she missed a serve. Third game, it was 19-21 or 19-19 rather. Game is to 21. They won the first match, lost the second, or won the first game, lost the second game. Third game for the match, 19-21, they get a side out. 19-20, 19-19, I keep saying. 19-19, they get a side out. It's now 20-19, and Penny's up to serve. And my daughter's smaller, right? And I'm having the whole, I'm already envisioning the car ride home because she missed the serve, they lost the game.
Right.
Right? Again, negative. I'm worst case scenario person. I pull my phone out. I'm going to record it, right? In case it goes well, I'm going to record it. She serves it, gets it barely over the net. The girl on the other side of the net hits it in the net. They win the game. They win the match. Yay, Penny, right? And it's like, well, we didn't talk about the serve she missed in the second game, right? Because because she missed that serve in the second game, she was able to make the serve in the third game. And so she's 10, I'm 40. Your listeners are all over the age range. And yet every day we fail to do because we already anticipate a negative outcome.
So true. I mean, very true. The fear that gets into us, right?
It's all it is.
Yep. And we can go on for hours about that. I mean, the fear of money, the fear of time, the fear of whatever. I mean, it's so true. I want to thank you today for an excellent discussion. And also, if our audience did want to get in touch with you, is there a way that they can do that online, LinkedIn, something like that?
Yep. So you can find me, andyweins.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Andy Weins, Weins. There are people randomly that will text me and call me and Facebook message me like, "Hey, I listened to your content, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "All right, cool." Like I had this woman, Joan, the other day. She goes, "You talk too fast." And I was like, "That's cool." Like she sent me an email, right? It is very simple to get a hold of me. And I love feedback. Because I always tell people I'm 80% right. And there's 20% I'm not right. And the thing is, I'm not sure what that is, right? So I implore people to support me and show me where I've gone wrong.
And that is the idea of I failed, made a mistake, but I want to learn from it. So I love that. What a great way to end our show. Thank you so much, Andy, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to our audience as well. We do hope you were able to gain some valuable information or tips from Andy today. If you are a leader who knows that leadership coaching, consulting, or community are the way to grow on your leadership journey, please visit us at amplifyingleadership.ca, that's CA as in Canada, a Twin Life Coaching and Business Services division. Until next time, remember, leadership matters.